This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Here are your hosts, Dr. Tim Slecker and Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, educated educators talking education.
Hey, welcome to another week of Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. This is Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, and tonight is a special night, not because Dr. Tim Slecker is not here, because we miss him, and he'll be back on. I mean, he's just in some transport from Michigan back down to his lovely home in Ohio. Man, he has been on the ground close to so many things in education. Last week in Wisconsin, this week in Michigan. And he is a man of the people on the ground, covering education stories, breaking all over the place. So we'll check in back with Tim tomorrow, but tonight to kick off the week and really to kind of kick off the beginning of the month, we have Dr. Nancy Carlson Page with us. Ask what would Matt Damon's mom say? Of course, we have the lovely Jess on the boards. So we'll probably get to chat it up with Jess tonight. And here I am, your host, normally your co-host, Johnny Lupinacci, but I'm in the pilot seat tonight. So we're going to have a blast. Welcome to August, and it's the first Monday of the month. Lots of gears turning, lots of energy shifting back towards back to school. And of course, lots of energy and excitement. I would say renewed energy and good generative excitement coming from the Democratic Party and from politics in general. I've experienced not only a jubilant reinvigoration of so many generations of voters, but I've also seen a shift in the rhetoric on both sides. And it's pushing American politics, I believe, to be greater, to be stronger, to be more pro-democracy. And so this is a big win coming off of a real couple of low moments in American politics. But before we get into it, how are you doing, Dr. Nancy Carlson Page?
Oh, hi there, Johnny. I'm doing really well. Hi, Jess. Great to be with you and all the listeners, too. I'm just great.
Good. So summer's treating you well, Dr. Nancy?
Yeah, it's been busy. I always think it's supposed to be a quieter, more relaxing time, but that never seems to happen for me. And then I just try to get my head around the fact that I'm a really busy person, and it's okay. And I guess it's way better to be very engaged in life than to have a lot of open time when you don't know what to do and, feel sort of aimless or something. So
absolutely. Jess and I were just talking about that this morning too on our producer meeting. We were talking about that, the importance of balance, but knowing that busyness or a full plate of engagement is sometimes just part of our lives, and having that balance and finding it in all seasons is really important. Not to burn out, because we were talking a lot about teacher burnout, but in general, teachers learn and have to learn to sustain over not only their career, but their school year. It's like a form of a marathon. And no matter what level you're engaged as a person in community, I think this resonates with folks. It's hard to find that balance, but knowing that balance is ever important. And speaking of balance, though, I'll tell you a little bit about a balance I'm grateful for is a wonderful sponsorship from the Minocqua Brewing Company in Madison, Wisconsin. Those guys are big-time supporters of public education and have even gone as far as to sue the state over vouchers and advocate that politicians stop hurting schools. And I love that kind of political engagement from a local business. Minocqua Brewing Company is making Wisconsin great again, one beer at a time. Check them out at minocquabrewingcompany.com to see where you can buy their progressive beer. But coming back around to that, Nancy, that progressive moment we're in, I mean, how are you feeling given recent developments in the Democratic Party and just in general our country?
Well, the shift is very, very significant. It's been, and it was palpable from the moment the announcement was made. I think that the Biden decided not to run and that he endorsed Kamala Harris. There was just such a groundswell. I have a huge family. I have a lot of, I have adult kids and grandkids, and I have quite a few grandkids who are teens, and they're Gen Z kids, and they are fired up.
They
and
are.
all their all their friends are fired up, and they weren't going to vote. These kids weren't going to vote.
I know.
And I
thing,
think
yeah.
I'm saying it not because they're my family. I think they're representative because there was something like 40,000 people registered to vote in the 48 hours after the announcement, and more than 80% of them were Gen Z. So that is really exciting to me, because as soon as this, actually even before this decision, I wanted Kamala Harris for a couple reasons. One, I thought it was more stable for the country, because Joe Biden, who there are many positive things to say about him, but I think when you watch that debate, I think it was unsettling for a lot of people, and it's better to choose somebody who's already run for president, who's already served as vice president, knows this job, and the country knows her. And of course, for me, I was just so thrilled about her, that she's Black, that she's Asian, that her husband's Jewish. And I'm like, let's get them all in there.
Yeah.
And let's diversify. And excuse me, but old white men, please forgive me for saying that, because there are a lot of wonderful elderly white men. But it's just that there's a patriarchy that we struggle against. And why we don't get more women in the highest offices in our country when they've been serving in many other countries forever is a mystery. That must mean we have entrenched patriarchy that doesn't want to let go of power. So that's all what I have to say.
Well, I love that, Nancy. I think you hit on a lot of the energy that I'm experiencing too. It's that wave, that strong wave of young voters. And we were talking about it with listeners. Remember, listener, if you want to join the conversation with Dr. Nancy Carlson Page and me, Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, give us a call, 855-752-4842, Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. But that energy, that excitement, that engagement for this generation of voters, and especially for Gen Zers, and I'll even speak to it, being in a household with some young teens, that they were talking about their hopes for when they vote in the next presidential election. And they are fired up in a new way, wishing they could vote in this one. And so seeing that excitement and seeing, representation and engagement alive in a strong way. Remember, these are the young people who are coming into early adulthood amidst the largest social uprising of all of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
That's including us older white guys too, who are learning humbly to step aside and support, right, what we call like plenty of highly qualified, highly capable women in leadership, but just different folks. And that brings us into some things. The rhetoric has shifted. I know we were talking last week on the show, and we ended the show kind of Tim and Johnny going back and forth over the adjective weird. And we had said, Tim had said, he's kind of tired of just Trump and the weird Republicans. And I get what he's saying. I think he's meaning, this introduction that it's okay to be it's okay to be harmful. It's okay to be a destructive person who puts down humanity, who disregards human rights, who kind of speaks as a representation of what I would call a bully. And I think to call that weird, I understand, but I thought it also to be a little bit troubling because I also really value diversity and difference. And to me, weird can sometimes be used as a put down for something that's different. So Nancy, I don't know if you had heard any of that kind of discussion and what your thoughts were about that adjective of weird, but I'm interested in, figuring out how we can roll with the momentum of positivity, but also being firm about facts and the energy that I think Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party is really turning to and has a strong foundation of. So, Nancy, what are your thoughts with that?
Oh, we've lost Nancy.
Oops. Well, I know Nancy is out on the coast, so we'll bring her back in when she can get connected.
We'll bring her back in a moment. I'll say that, I was called weird plenty of times in my childhood, and it usually was not a compliment.
Yeah, what I worry about is that the way that we push for assimilation is anti-diversity. It's really anti-difference. The condition of diversity being a condition of difference at which everything exists. The strength of democracy is in being different, having different experiences shared. acceptance, inclusiveness, community is based on feeling like you belong, not on conforming. So I think we have Nancy on the phone. We can fold Nancy back into things. I know we had a caller, LA Tom, looking to say hi. Tom, we love you. Hello from Tom to Nancy. And you know what? I think it's awesome. LA Tom is a regular listener. He's a participant in a lot of civic media, and especially at Busted Pencils. But we lost Nancy on the stream, and we've got her on the phone. So, Tom, we'll loop back around to you. I'll pull you in on the second half of the show once Nancy's done with her segment. But we love you, listeners. And if you want to give us a call, 855-752-482. But hold on, because we got Nancy on the phone. Nancy, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm really glad to be back. Our internet connection's unstable today, so here I am by the phone.
Well, you sound clear. Thanks for calling in.
Can I say a couple things about this weird comment?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. First of all, I understand why it took off, because there are so many people who I think have felt this way for a long time. And it kind of touched a nerve, and it kind of went viral, to use a common term. And because people have felt like something's really strange, something's really off. When those comments started getting made about the cat women and the childless cat women and parents should have more voting power and things like that by JD Vance, I think it got people to a point. Plus, you have, a convicted felon running for president and a rapist, and these are known facts. They're not like opinions. And to many people, this is a very, very strange political milieu to be in. So to make the comment weird and have it take off that way, I do understand. Although I think there are words more accurate, like dangerous,
yes,
or ultra fascist or ultra authoritarian, or things that should scare us, undemocratic. But at the same time, I've been reflecting for a long time now on how our sort of public discourse has sunk to a very low level.
And Nancy, that's a perfect way. We got a break. We're gonna pull you back after. So stay tuned. Stay with us. More Nancy Carlson Page when we get back. Oh, and we're back. This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk with civic media here. Listeners, we love you. If you want to join the conversation, our phone lines are a little bit tied up because we have Dr. Nancy Carlson Page joining us by phone for the first half of the show. But don't worry, we'll get you in on the second half. We'll fold you into the conversation. Nancy, I had to cut you off abruptly right when you were kind of making an important point about, the discourse of things. And so bringing you back in, you can go ahead and pick right up where you left off. Thanks, Nancy.
I mean, as far as I see it, this whole sinking low happened when Donald Trump came on the scene, and he because I have never seen public discourse be of this nature in my lifetime, and I think he's really normalized behaviors that many of us feel are completely unacceptable, like bullying people and name calling and making put downs. And, he makes up names for people, Crooked Hillary and Pocahontas for my wonderful Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Grandpa Joe. These are caricatures of people that are very calculating on his part, because they're intended to actually undermine the person's hold an understanding of who the person is and reduce them down to these stereotypic names. But what I'm really trying to say here is that these behaviors, I co-founded the Center for Peaceable Schools at my university and taught for many, many years teachers on how to work with conflict resolution and mediation skills in classrooms. And one of the things about doing that kind of work is you teach kids even in kindergarten what put downs are and not to make them, what name calling is and not to do it, what it means to bully, and you help kids understand what these things are, and to understand that when you communicate with people, when you use what language you use can either escalate or de-escalate conflict. So if you're looking for understanding and some kind of compromise or meeting of the minds on conflicts or whatever, it's really important to choose a kind of language that helps the other person stay connected to the conversation, not get angry or retaliatory. But and so it's sad to me. I mean, the model of all of this behavior that's been so evident on the national scene has been really harmful for kids. The terrible model. And also adults. I mean, I've had the experience of adults being unbelievably disrespectful and unkind in a way I hadn't noticed earlier in life. I just think there's something about a national mood when people find it okay to treat others with bullying, disrespect, put downs, and so forth. So, and the weird comment, the comment saying that they're weird, does fit that model of kind of disrespectful discourse. Yeah. It does.
Yeah, it slides into it.
And yet it slides into it. It does. And she's right on the edge. She's right on the edge making it, because I think I wouldn't want to see her slip any further, because I don't want to see her, Kamala Harris play their game on their terms.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Right,
what do you think?
I'm right there with you, Nancy. And I love that you brought up how we work with young people, because that's where we learn to become democratic citizens, like in schools that are committed to that level of, and remember, we themed it last week from our 20 lessons from the 20th century, inspired by Timothy Snyder, to remember professional ethics. And that's not to be like overruling and controlling of language, but remembering that the words we use, the language, that the metaphors of our language bring into reality how we understand and act towards one another. So we as human beings, even as little as young as kindergarten, as preschool, we use intentional language to put our best foot forward, to develop the habits and characteristics of, we could say, a democracy or a healthy community or an inclusive community, one we can belong in, feel safe in, both practice care but receive it, right? And so it's the language is really important. I have to say, I'm right there with you. I would hate to see Kamala Harris slide into it. I don't think she will, because over the course of her career, she's shown us that she can be empathetic and firm. She can respond to a matter. Yeah. She's not dismissive of it. She can be right there fighting the good fight, but elevating it to a level that we ought to have as the professional standard of our politicians. And so I'm really grateful for it. And I'm also grateful, Nancy, for you participating not only in the show, but tonight reminding me, we've been talking about this, and I really think you're right. We are in an era where a level of vitriol language has become acceptable. And I think it's okay for us to say, let's put a pause on this. I don't want to be one to advocate for censorship or to say, oh, you can't use certain words. But the intention and meaning behind it is important for us to understand. And the level of the way that vitriol language and rhetoric of violence really really comes to fruition in everyday life. And so I think it has been escalated, and we've almost normalized or built a tolerance to vitriol and violent language. And I'm hoping that it shifts. I really am.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And it's become normalized. And there's we all have many parts to ourselves, and we have some very base instincts and, tendencies that as we grow and develop, we get them under control. The fury, we can feel the anger, the vitriol, revenge, these qualities that are human, but we want to understand them in ourselves and understand when they come up and know how to monitor them and not just explode out without any reflection on what's coming out of our mouth or how it's affecting someone else. You made the point, too, about feeling safe, and I just wanted to mention, when you have a classroom, if a teacher has a classroom of kids and bullying is allowed, then nobody feels safe in that room. And I feel that way on the national scale, too. If you have a society where people are treating each other with this much unkindness, lack of compassion, disrespect, and without any sort of interest in listening and compromising or resolving conflicts, I think it has a terrible effect on the population. And I think part of what's happening with the explosion for Kamala is there's a big sigh of relief going on. Like, maybe it doesn't have to be this way. Maybe things are going to actually turn around and become more civil. That there is kindness.
Yep, I love that. There is a radical joy. There is a shift. And Nancy, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Thanks for hopping on the phone when the internet went down. We appreciate you. Listeners, stay with us. This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. More when we come back. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about this radical sort of shift in things, this joy and this opportunity to reclaim political discourse and to make bullying and vitriol language just intolerable.
Beautiful, Johnny. Thanks.
This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. I'm Dr. Johnny Lupinacci here with you tonight. We just had the amazing national treasure, Dr. Nancy Carlson Page, for our monthly segment, What Would Matt Damon's Mom Say? Well, we got to hear what Dr. Nancy Carlson Page had to say about the moment we're in, about the important work that early childhood educators are doing out there, not only around healthy conflict resolution, but around making sure our language represents the actions and the way we not only want ourselves to be treated, but how we want to treat others, right? I think that's sort of that golden rule that exists in many cultures. Treat others as though you'd like to be treated. And I think this is really important. However, we've pulled that rhetoric politically, especially in this country, really far into a low moment. And I think we're coming out of that low moment where we're starting to say, hey, certain things just aren't acceptable. And it's not necessarily about taking a high road or there being a low road, but it's about speaking in a way that's representative of the kind of differences and conflicts we want to have. We want to have generative discussions. We want to disagree and be better and stronger as a country and as a community as a result of that, of those differences, not weaker, scared, in fear, and harming one another. We always say as humans, we have great capacity to do good for one another and ourselves. We also have great capacity to be pretty awful towards ourselves and each other. What do we want to practice? And repetition and language is a part of that. And so the more we practice, and that's connected to our lesson, 20 lessons from the 20th century this week, professional ethics, the more we practice generative language, really being able to listen, being able to express humility as a strength, being able to focus on, especially on a political level, the duties and the roles, the responsibilities of our leaders, focusing on that and the energy of being truly a leader of the people. And I like that. I like the energy coming. speaking of being representative of the people, I sort of ended the last half hour of the show. We were really talking about the excitement of the upcoming election, a reinvigorated energy, right? And so I want to remind listeners, Wisconsin listeners especially, the fall primary election is August 13th. If you're listening outside of Wisconsin, you've also got primaries and elections that are all so important to not only the presidential election, but all of the electoral, processes that are contributing to our democracy. So make a plan to vote in this and every election. Do your civic duty. To find out what's on your ballot and where to cast it, you can go to myvote.wi. That's myvote.wisconsin.gov. myvote.wi.gov. And you can find out more about exactly where your ballot gets cast and the choices you have. I mean, it's really important to be an informed voter. Now, speaking of being an informed citizen, I think, Jess, do we still have my guy L.A. Tom on the horn?
We sure do.
Bring him on. Tom, how you doing, man?
Hey, Johnny, I'm doing okay. Number one, I hope everybody votes no on Proposition 1 and 2 in Wisconsin, so you don't have more of a power grab by the legislature and trying to take power away from the governor in the state of Wisconsin. So let's vote no on both referendum that you can't even understand unless you have a law degree what it means. Number two, as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, we have been called weird. Mm-hmm. We have been called as a noun, weird. We have been called every name in the book. Mm-hmm. The F word, the this, the that, everything you can think of. Women have been called certain things. We're calling the behavior of what the Republicans have done in calling all of us certain words and actions that they have done as strange or weird. These are, Tim Walz said it best. And he is someone that can speak to that rural America. And I grew up in that town of 2000 in Wisconsin. These people are weird. When you have 34 convictions, when you have a rapist, when you have a guy that's saying that people that don't have children are a certain way, I'm sorry, these people are weird. And I think there's a difference between that type of weird and using it almost as an adjective versus using it as a noun like they do. And I think we're just all sick and tired of it on our side of the ledger of always Lucy kicking the football, putting our best foot forward, doing everything we can to get along. Meanwhile, you watch what happens as the Republicans get closer where the election is all of a sudden closer and closer in the Senate and the House, and it looks like the Dems are going to take over. First thing they're going to say is, why don't we be a little bit more bipartisan? That will be the words that they use.
Mm-hmm. Tom, thanks for your contribution. And truly, I like Tom's clarification on that. And that's sort of in tangent to my apprehension of like, let's be really clear. And I'm going to even move it. I'm going to challenge us to say, let's replace. I totally understand and I get it. And I think in every right, especially like representatives of the LGBTQ community or anybody who's been put down as weird when they're truly not acting in any hostile, dangerous, harmful, hurtful way, right? This is what I would push us to call these behaviors of not only Donald Trump, but of anybody, any politician who's expressing hostility, who is proposing dangerous, policies for humanity, for inclusivity, for our communities, for our economy. They are hostile, dangerous, harmful, hurtful, and that ought to be the fringe, not the norm. And the use of the language that I would say is the political violence of the right. And oftentimes, and too often, I think Nancy spoke to this, it's become normalized. It's become the rhetoric of politics in this country. And so reclaiming it a bit, not being, soft, not soft shoeing it, Not saying, hey, let's all get along. Let's be real direct that we ought to not accept hostile, dangerous, harmful, hurtful, vitriol, name calling, language, put downs, ways of harming one another. We can stick to the facts. And Tom, you remind us, and it's important, listener. I know you're thinking it too. As we move into this election, every election, even local elections, we're going to see a shift. And you have an opportunity to be a voter and to put into practice, into regular practice and policy in our community. You have the opportunity to bring, strong leadership in, leadership that's not hostile, that's not dangerous, that's not harmful. And that ought to be the baseline, the professional ethics of politics in this country. It isn't right now, and we need to push hard and not pull any punches too, because it is really important to acknowledge what LA Tom shares with us tonight and often, that we the people, right, are the government. We are the country we want to have. So we need to be putting our best foot forward, like Tom reminds us. And we're sick and tired of the football, if we're to use that metaphor, being pulled out of the way as we run up to kick it. That ought not to be the baseline. So let's reclaim civility. And that doesn't mean not disagreeing, but that means having a generative conversation around things. So on that note,
Hey-o.
you know what that bell means? Every day here on Busted Pencil, same time, every day, the bell rings as true as it does to start the school day, which, by the way, is happening all over the country pretty soon in a lot of places. It's soon to be back to school. But that means democracy in action on Busted Pencils. Tonight's democracy in action recognition, it goes, yes, it does. Dr. Nancy Carlson Page brought up the Gen Z voters. And yes, all generations of voters matter. But man, I got to say, today's democracy in action goes to all those Gen Z voters who registered, who are energized, who are excited, I recently got to be at a Chapel Roan concert and see so many young people out there saying, here are the things that matter to us. And that energy is evident in the rise in registered voters and the voice coming from Gen Z around the core democratic values of equality and diversity. Remember, in a strong democracy, equality is a value where everyone should get the same treatment, regardless of where their parents or grandparents were born, of how they identify, their race, their religion, or how much money they have. Every single citizen all have political, social, and economic equality. And that means that we value difference in language, dress, foods, how we choose to, present ourselves and engage with one another, where our parents or grandparents were born, our race, religion. They're not only allowed, but they are accepted. And Gen Z voters, you're our democracy in action today, because wow, the message you are sending is that those are two core democratic values that you're excited about and that you see as important to your futures. And we're here to support it. Folks, it's an exciting moment. Appreciate caller Tom. This is Busted Pencil's fully leaded education talk on civic media. Listener, if you want to join the conversation, 855-752-4842. Welcome to give us a call. And on that note, we got caller Joanne with us on the phone. Let's get Joanne on, Jess.
Great discussion. Just a quick follow-up on how to treat bullies. I've written an article on this, and what the research says, there's no one accepted way to do this. Every bully is different in different ways, and it may be that we were able to teach former President Trump a lesson by using that word weird. And he went back on various talk shows and on social media to say, "Oh, I'm not weird." I mean, it's hit him in some way that we as civil people were using this word against him, and he had to figure out what to do. Now, whether or not that teaches a lesson that is going to go on in time, who knows? But it's difficult to deal with bullies, and we shouldn't beat ourselves up because we don't know the exact way to do so. And just being civil very often doesn't work. Very often punching a bully back in the nose in the same way that you got it, and I know that the Christian ethic of turning the other cheek doesn't apply here, but occasionally that works. I mean, it just works, and the bully moves on. most bullies are serial bullies. I don't want to get into the article and all that, but the notion of curing this bully is very difficult. But at least you could teach the bully a lesson, and perhaps for a short period of time, that bully will move on. And again, thank you so much for this amazing discussion.
Love it, Joanne. And I'll just say on the air, Joanne, if you can share with producer Jess that article, I'd love to read it, and I'd love to also share it with our listeners because Joanne does
fantastic. Great.
Points out.
Yeah, it's on cyberbullying. How to treat bullies online, which is a huge issue for anybody who teaches, because a lot of this stuff goes on online. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Joanne. Thanks for calling and thanks for sharing your expertise, because that is something we do here at Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk, educated educators talking education. Joanne is an educated educator sharing her research. So we'll get that for you, listener. And we'll all respond to that in a sense. It's important what Joanne brings up, because I think that's really important. Every teacher knows this or ought to know this, but I think a lot of great teachers do this. We know that we have some authority in our classroom, and it is our responsibility as the adult, as the leader, right? Not to look down at kids or to not empower them. Like we really want to bring them into having equal voice, but it's also on our shoulders to be representative of what that space looks like and what's tolerable and what's not. You have to be both empathetic and firm. And Joanne reminds us of that there isn't this way to sort of soft, smooth everything over and just say, hey, let's all talk nice. Sometimes you have to put your foot down and you have to say, no, that is not how we speak about one another, towards one another. And that is not the best representation of who we are as human beings in community with each other. So you have to be firm. And I always strive on that, empathetic, but firm. This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk on Civic Media. Stay tuned. We'll break it down when we come back.
I should have said something. Yeah, I should have said
And we're back. This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. This is Dr. Johnny Lupinacci here with you tonight. Producer Jess on the boards, holding it down on a night of guests and callers, listeners. We appreciate you. We were just giving big shout outs last segment to the Gen Z voters and all those Gen Z citizens out there who are energized and sending a clear message, right, that they have something to say about the kind of country that they want. Excellent stuff from our listeners tonight. Thank you, LA Tom. Thank you, Joanne. Anytime, especially Joanne, I really am interested in your article. If you can, email us at bustedpencils@gmail.com. That's bustedpencils, one word, at gmail.com. You can reach us there and send us that article. We'd love to share it with listeners and love to build on it, because as caller Joanne said, cyberbullying, bullying, there isn't this exact silver bullet. There are things though we can do. So love that research. Send it in our way. We'll talk more about it. We will certainly, even Joanne, probably have a show on it. Would love to have you back on as a guest. I know we've done that once before, but love it again. Especially on these topics, and especially educators out there. If you're like me, you're gearing up and getting ready to get back into the classroom. I know I'll be back with my students in just really kind of almost about 10, 12 days from now. We'll be in the classroom. I'm excited. So there's an energy, there's a buzz. I know every single parent out there and teacher, if you're like me, you're also avoiding that you'll walk into any store and it's back to school shopping, everything. So you got to gear up on supplies. You got to get ready for the school year. Hopefully you're getting those moments of rest and relaxation in, those moments of summer that are oh so important to the balance of a full year and to the development of all of our children, that they get plenty of time to play, that they get to be children, That's something we've talked a lot about, in the importance of having a childhood. I know, to preview a little bit, we'll have teacher Joanna and teacher Hallie on Wednesday, who are regularly saying to us, guys, remember, as an educator, we got to also be in some way not only engaging and at the level of respecting young people, but we also got to be sort of protectors and advocates of childhood. It's a really important stage of development for all of us. And for too many children, they're going through adverse experiences that really rob them of that childhood, of that important, time of development. So we're getting back to it. The fall is soon. I don't mean to be producing any unnecessary anxiety, but I'm excited. We're getting back into the classroom soon. Hey, voters, though, can't emphasize this enough. I know LA Tom brought this up. Vote in every election, but Wisconsin, the fall primary is August 13th. Make a plan and vote in this and every election. Do your civic duty. Again, if you need to find out what's on your ballot wherever you're at, you can do that easily, right? You just kind of connect to your internet or get with your local voters unions, and they'll give you lots of information on where to vote and to know your choices, to know your options, be an informed voter. Certainly Gen Z is telling us they're informed voters. I'm excited about that. That's a theme from tonight. I'm quite excited about. Also want to put a big shout out to our monthly special guest. The honor it is to have Dr. Nancy Carlson Page with us, dropping mad knowledge and experience from her vast credit to her teaching career and all the work she's done in education. Great to have her on the night, not only talking politics, but talking about the work that teachers are doing and that young people are doing in preparation of being civically engaged. So that's really important stuff. Love it. Great to have you all listeners tuned in and listening and being part of that conversation. If you'd like to join the conversation anytime here at Busted Pencils, you just call us in 855-752-4842. And listeners, if you're following us on the stream, you can watch. We have the stream on YouTube. We got it on X. It's on Facebook Live. It's on all those streaming platforms. And you can also catch us live on Civic Media, or you can download the podcasts on the Civic Media website or wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search for Busted Pencils, and you'll have educated educators streaming through your Bluetooth speaker, your phone, your app, whatever it is. Download that Civic Media app and get at the great programming at Civic Media. Remember, also, big thanks to Minocqua Brewing Company for being a sponsor of Busted Pencils. Check out where you can get their progressive beer, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. Big shout outs to defenders of democracy all over Wisconsin, but especially
and
to
makers
NBC.
Of great beer.
Yeah, they make some good beer. They good beer. They also have a pretty cool billboard they put up. So if you're interested and you're in the Wisconsin area, go check out their Hope billboard or look on their social media if you're like me and not really close to those billboards, but love checking out the selfies that supporters of Minocqua Brewing Company keep posting on the internet of the nice, big, fresh energy of hope, right? And I can remember that, and it resonates with me. I was big fan of the grassroots organizing we did as young voters for Obama when President Obama was organizing. And remember, Democrats out there, it wasn't quite a sure shot road to him running for president. We did a lot of organizing, a lot of collective voicing that we wanted something different, that we believed in difference, and that we have the kind of representative leader that we hoped could run for president. And we made that happen. And that's the kind of energy that I'm excited about. And I see it, and it's mimetic of my experience as a young voter, but also when I see this generation of new voters in droves registering when they had said very vocally before, you have not presented us with an option that we see much of a future in. And they were even talking about, whatever with this election, because we're already planning for the next one. Man, all that energy is now tilting the scales and part of a massive shift. And I feel it. I hear it. We're experiencing it. And I hope listeners, you all are too. It's an exciting moment in American democracy. And that's always nice coming off some really low ones. So we appreciate you. Hey, tune in tomorrow. We got a great show. It's our Rethinking Schools spot. And we have the amazing educator, Ty Marshall, coming in tomorrow to talk about the new and upcoming, publication from Rethinking Schools. Tune in and hear what Ty Marshall, educator extraordinaire, has to share about their classroom and their upcoming publication with Rethinking Schools. This is Busted Pencils, Dr. Johnny Lupinacci. We'll catch you tomorrow. You know where to find us. Thank you, and keep listening.